This is New York firefighter Raphael Porriette, introducing Firehouse Subs' new $4.99 choice subs. Choose from a medium smoked turkey, honey ham, or roast beef. And remember, a part of every sub you buy helps provide life-saving equipment for first responders. Medium $4.99 choice subs. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives. Limited time only, plus tax, no substitutions. Participating locations. Firehouse Subs will donate a minimum of $1 million in 2018 to Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation by donating 0.13% of every purchase.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Source Material, and tonight we are going to be discussing a book that came out in 2015. We're tying this in with something, and I'll let the patriarch tell us all about that. But before we get to introducing him and turn it over to Mark Radulich, I'm going to I want to bring on the man, the myth, the legend, the host of the Screaming Boy podcast. His name is Ronnie Adams. Ronnie Adams, are you ready to talk some comic books tonight?
Always am.
All right, good deal. Mark Radulich, we're tying this in with something big that's going on right now in the old theaters, I believe. What is that?
Well, Jesse, since you asked, and clearly have no idea what's in the Cineplex near you, I'll tell you what we're going to be synergizing with, because nobody knows.
Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Only I possess the knowledge of what movies are scheduled to come out when. It's not like you can look on the internet or see a movie poster anywhere near you. Ladies and gentlemen, much to
Sicario 2, Day of the Dead.
Much to everyone's surprise, ladies and gentlemen, what comes out, or when this airs on the Radulich Broadcasting Network, what had just come out this past Friday, is the latest in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, AntMan and the Wasp, the sequel to kind of Edgar Wright's AntMan, which came out in 2015. This one...
Not quite Edgar Wright's.
Almost Edgar Wright's. So yeah, this is the sequel to it. It's actually kind of a prequel to the next Avengers movie, from what I understand. And so, since these are the further adventures of the Scott Lang iteration of Ant-Man, I thought, why not go and take a look at one of the Scott Lang-centered trade paperbacks, which is Ant-Man by Nick Spencer. And it's issues 1 through 5, and that's all that this... And now, this continued in Astonishing Ant-Man, but it went in a different direction. So this is just Ant-Man 1 through 5, written by Nick Spencer and illustrated by Ramon Rosanas. Bernstein.
You made that up.
Bernstein? Oh, no.
Oh.
That had its day, and it's done.
What's great?
That callback.
What's great about this book? Now, hey guys, I'm trying to be serious here. What's great about that book is this really is the essence of the Paul Rudd version of Ant-Man. You know, you have this down on your luck, ne'er-do-well guy trying to make good by his daughter, and being, and having this Ant-Man persona sort of thrusted upon him, and him trying to figure out where he belongs in the real world and the superhero world. So we'll have some interesting discussion here talking about this book.
Oh, absolutely. Ronnie Adams, tell me about what you know. Your more interesting memories, I guess I would say, of Ant-Man.
I would have to say Scott Lang is my favorite Ant-Man. I'm familiar with all three Ant-Men. I feel silly saying that.
I know all the Ant-Men.
I know all of them.
Can I tell you? I told my wife's friend who doesn't read comic books tonight that I want to get that if I make it 5 years without a relapse of cancer, I was going to get the Green Lantern ring tattooed on myself. And she completely didn't understand what the fuck I was talking about. So I had to explain to her that green is the color of will. And do you ever see the cartoon where the cartoon character turns into the donkey? That was happening to me.
Pinocchio.
As I was trying to tell this woman about my impending Green Lantern tattoo.
You need to learn to read the room, sir.
You ain't kidding, Buster. I know. I mean, you've been with Mindy for 1,000 years, but I mean, if you've ever tried to pick up a girl, and Jesse's an elf. If you've ever tried to pick up a girl and you're bombing it, but you can't stop talking. I wasn't trying to pick her up because she's married and I'm married, but I could feel myself bombing with my wife's friend. That's how bad this was.
They're like, don't ask him about comics. Don't do it, okay? Don't ask him anymore.
Stop talking to the girl about comics, you loser. Anyway, Ronnie, you were saying.
You can say that a lot, but it doesn't work.
It's
somehow I always end up doing that.
You were saying, Ronnie?
I'm familiar. I mean, of course, it started off with Hank Pym, and then it went to O'Grady next, wasn't it?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
We've covered O'Grady on the podcast.
I was taking a drink, sorry. Yes, he is the sleaziest of the Ant-Men, and then Scott Lang ended up with it. And I would have to say, out of all three, Scott Lang, being to my knowledge, the only convicted criminal of the three, is the most likable. He isn't a piece of crap like Grady, Eric O'Grady. He does not beat women like Hank Pym. So out of all three, he's probably the most likable. But I do think that he's my favorite Ant-Man because the humor, just the overall how of course it depends on who's writing, but he's also kind of the underdog. Mm-hmm. Nobody really expected him to be a superhero as good as he is. Yeah, I like him the most.
Okay. Mark Radulich, you have any recollections of your experience with Ant-Man in the past?
The Ant-Man I knew was Hank Pym, the Ant-Man who beat his wife and created Ultron. Who basically, they took the worst parts of Hank Pym and put it into the Marvel Cinematic Universe version of Tony Stark. So, yeah, I was not familiar with Scott. When I knew they were doing the Scott Lang iteration of Ant-Man for the Ant-Man movie, I had to do some reading up on him and what he was. I had really no knowledge of him or Cassie or any of that. So this was a new experience for me reading about this because, like I said, everything I knew about Ant-Man was he was Hank Pym's one of the smartest people in the world. He's up there with Banner and Reed and all them. But he was also half a nut job who once or twice slapped Janet Van Dyne right across the puss.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Myself, I can't really recall too many Ant-Man stories that I've read, other than what we've done here on the podcast with the Eric O'Grady Ant-Man. Scott Lang is kind of like, just like you said, Ronnie, he's kind of like the underdog.
Yeah.
He's the guy that you're rooting for this guy.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You want him to do well, and they've definitely used that to their advantage in this story because you want well for Ant-Man here. Reformed criminal, but trying to stay on the righteous path, being a superhero. I know you've read a few things, or of Cassie, his daughter, in the Marvel universe.
Yes, Starcher.
Can you kind of just give a brief description of her powers or what she does? Or I know she's
giant girl. I think she was a part of the Initiative. That's what it was.
The Initiative.
The Initiative, Young Avengers, maybe Mighty Avengers that I can think of. Was she? Okay, good.
Yep.
She's gone by. Okay. I know she went by Starcher, but maybe Giant Girl. That's what I remember.
She's got 4 aliases here: Starcher, Stinger, Ant Girl, and Giant Girl.
Hey, I was right with Giant Girl.
Yep.
But so she basically has the same stuff as her, same powers as her dad.
Yeah. She can grow. She's been exposed to Pym particles, and that's an important part of this story too, because we're going to kind of break it down, and Cassie plays a very important role. Let's go ahead and give props to the creative team real quick, and then what we will do is we will do a synopsis. Might be a little bit longer than usual, but if you guys feel like talking about something, hop in. If not, save it till the end. We'll talk about it then. All right, so the creative team, as Mark said, Nick Spencer, who, just from what I read, had got into comics, it looks like around 2010, maybe a little bit before that, and actually was a Cincinnati politician at one point. He was in politics in Cincinnati for a little while after comics didn't exactly pull through for him. And then he came back to comics, wrote some very notable titles for Marvel, Iron Man 2.0, wrote some of the Avengers. More importantly, recently he's taken over the writing duties for Spider-Man after Dan Slott. After Dan Slott left. Yeah. After Dan Slott left, Nick Spencer has taken over, and I've heard good things. Now, I can't think for the life of me if I've read anything that he's done in the past. He's got some independent books under his belt as well, but nothing, something called Existence 2.0, Forgetless, Shuttertown. So these are stories that I've never read. But after reading this story, I'll tell you right now, I'm definitely interested in more stuff that he's done. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. Rosanos, was that his name again? Did I say that right? Ramon Rosanos. I can tell you that the art's great in this book as far as I could tell. It does its job. So again, you got to remember that Nick is the writer and Ramon's the guy that's got to put that to the page. So they have a story to look at, and he's the one that's got to make it visible for us to enjoy, and he did a fine job in my opinion. All right, well, let's go ahead, unless you guys have anything else, Mark.
I'm good, man. Hit it.
All right, Ronnie Adams, you good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, so here we go. Issue 1, Scott Lang, the current Ant-Man, down on his luck, trying to stay on the right side of the law, also has to balance the superhero side of things with being a divorcee and a single dad. Applying for and eventually getting the job as Stark Industries head of security, things take a turn when his ex-wife decides to move to Miami with his teenage daughter, Cassie. Forced to make a tough choice, Scott leaves Tony hanging and, without a word, heads to Miami to be closer to his daughter. Calling Miami his home, Scott now decides to spin off the idea that Stark had and creates his own security company. One of his first potential pitches is to a bank. It's actually just a loan application, if I remember right. He's just trying to get a loan. Man, it's so funny because he walks into every place and he's always got the suit on. Now, I imagine here it's a business pitch or whatever, and he's got to kind of look the part. But there's so many times in this book where I noticed that he had the Ant-Man suit on. And I was like, wouldn't you...
He's not shy about busting it out.
No, he's not. Wouldn't you change at some point? So, okay.
Well, he's using it for marketing purposes.
Would you change at some point? Is my question.
If I had the
Ant-Man.
suit, I know, dude. I would probably keep it on a lot as well. But I mean, there's points where he's just talking with his ex-wife, and she's like, I mean, dude, you got the suit on. He's just walking through the house.
She is the worst ex-wife. She is the worst wife character since Adrian.
Yeah, she's the worst.
Oh, come on now. She's just trying to do right for her daughter. She's trying to do right for her daughter here.
Don't stand up for her. She's terrible.
Who would
Don't have a mind of your own, Jesse.
Who would stay in New York? Who would stay in New York after everything that's gone on in New York City? And who would stay in there? You would get as far away as you could, and I don't blame her for wanting to get out of New York and move somewhere where a building isn't falling down every day because some stupid fight is going on, much like Kingdom Come.
Need their fathers, and she doesn't give him any chance. At all. She's just riding him like a whore, like a bitch, and everything he does, she's just like, oh my God, you're putting your daughter in danger. Oh my God, you're not doing enough. This poor guy is trying to get... Do you know how hard it is to get a job when you've got a felony on your record? And this man was an Avenger. No. All right. It's hard. And this man was an Avenger, okay? This is a ridiculous character, and I kept waiting for her to get hit by a truck.
Huh.
I will tell you that I believe that Scott should have hung up the suit.
Why?
He should have hung up the suit because
that suit
we haven't even got there yet to what is going to be the crux of this whole book.
That suit is money.
It's clearly him. And that should not be what he's concerned about. His daughter is the one he should be concerned about. And we're going to get there. We're going to get there. Let's table the discussion. So one of his first potential pitches is to a bank. Going further than your normal business pitch, he cuts the electric to the bank and exposes all of the security flaws, unlocking all of the vaults. Unfortunately, secretly stowed away in one of the vaults is the villainous robot Nazi Gold, who awakens who awakens and threatens the bank and its patrons. Ant-Man springs into actions, no questions asked, and saves the day. Impressing the bank's owner, Mrs. Morgenstern, she accepts Scott's offer on the stipulation she is cut in 50-50. Scott then hires the criminal Grizzly, and at the end of the issue, Ant-Man appears to be the target of the Taskmaster. Okay, can we just? I'll pause real quick. You guys I got anything to say about Nazi Gold or the Grizzly here since we're there?
It's funny that in a lot of, I mean, not a lot, but in several like movies you see that the big secret is somebody's hiding like actual literal Nazi gold in a bank somewhere, that some big hoity-toity bank that only the richest of the whitest of people can gain access to. And then in this one they changed Nazi gold to a robot named Nazi Gold, so it's holding Nazi Gold, who is an actual villain, which I find hysterical. But that's what caught me off guard.
Yeah.
That and Taskmaster. Taskmaster is like the greatest cleanup batter in the history of villains. Mm-hmm. Or just a substitute. You can't get Green Goblin or somebody. I just send in Taskmaster. He'll take care of it, or he'll do it. He needs some cash. With a power set like that, then the man can take on Captain America one-on-one and almost win. And he carries a shield and a sword and uses guns but can fight like a maniac. But they're like, he's definitely B-list, and it makes me feel bad for him, even though he's a villain.
What do you think of Grizzly? Because you said you've had you love the way he was portrayed in the book. I mean, is this a character that you've run into before?
Briefly. I mean, he's just one of those write-off characters. You need a bad guy. You need somebody that can lift a car. Yeah, here's Grizzly. Mm-hmm. But in this one, he's got an actual personality. He's really funny.
He is.
He's really super funny, and I appreciate it. Like I appreciate that him having humor behind him. It's just a down his luck guy that needs a little boost, and he doesn't always have to be a villain. He can be a good guy.
Yeah,
and he proves that. But crime is easier, I guess. I just like how he was portrayed in this. Just like not only does he lift heavy things, but he has a soul.
Yeah, I like the way that they introduce him as he's attacking Scott Lang, and he's blaming him for putting him on the raft, I think. And Scott's like, wait a second, that wasn't me. I think you got me confused with somebody else. He's like, who? What are you talking about? It's like, there was a guy by the name of Eric O'Grady. I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then he's like, oh, well, I'm sorry. And they sit down.
My bad.
That was good stuff. Mark?
I like that whole setup, where he goes into the bank and he's like, I need $1,000 or $2, give or take.
He's like, my address is NA.
You know what I liked about this book? It's often been like books like Damage Control or whatever always deal with sort of the funny side of comic books, which is like, how do these people eat? Like, what do they do for money? Now, obviously, some people, Superman worked as a reporter and he drew a paycheck that way. Batman was a billionaire. Tony Stark owns his own company. But as you go down the road of the C and D list characters, and it's like, well, I'm an Avenger. Okay, but does that pay? How do you make money? How do you have a life? And what I liked about this book, overall, it wasn't, they didn't he's not just fighting bad guys. He's trying to put together his life that's a shambles. And it's little things like, I want to start a business. I'm going to use my costume. It's like a Booster Gold kind of a thing. I'm going to use my costume to market myself because that's a brand. It's a brand that people identify with. It's a brand that has value. And so I'll use that to market the one skill I have. I love the fact that he kept saying, who better to protect your stuff than the guy who's stolen your stuff?
That's where I was going to. The billboard that he puts his money into that says AntMan Security Solutions. Who knows how to not get your stuff stolen better than the guy who used to steal your stuff? And it's got a picture of Iron Man with 2 thumbs up that says, I'd hire him.
Oh, my God. I laughed.
That was hysterical.
Dude, I laughed so hard in the next panel where the executive or the lawyer or whatever is showing him the billboard, and it's just a one-word response: sue.
Oh, good stuff. Well,
but like I said, I liked all of that. I like the fact that Scott Lang's a real guy. If he's probably, like, if you think about all the people that we've talked about over the past year, I think in different ways we can identify with the Supermans and Batmans. But as far as being just a dude trying to figure out how to navigate this crazy world where you can't afford shit and life gets out of hand way too easily, Scott Lang is probably the most identifiable dude character that us three schmoes could possibly ever identify with. Every single one of us could possibly be in the position that he's in. Where you're broken up from your family and you're trying to do right and you can't seem to get your shit together and you're genuinely a decent guy. You just can't seem to get ahead of the tidal wave of shit that keeps drowning you.
Yeah. Being, thank goodness, I'm happily married, but, I am a product of divorce. My mom and my dad got divorced I think when I was 2 years old. So I grew up like that. I know, Mark, you mentioned, I think on the podcast, you have an ex-wife, but could you imagine having to deal with having a kid as well in that situation where you never get to see them?
Yes, and that's why we don't. But but actually, you know what? And I'm going to bring up my wife's ex-boyfriend who had a kid out of wedlock and has spent... she's the same age as my daughter, so 7 years. Has spent the last 7 years fighting to see her. So, where, like, the mother of that particular child has broken every single agreement and has failed to live up to her end of every single court-written bargain, essentially. Any order that she's had, any agreement that they've had, she has not lived up to. And he has spent the better part of 7 years fighting to see this girl, including being accused of molesting her, by the way, which he did not do. Yeah.
Wow.
So he's had to, and he just had a victory where he was actually able to see her, after 7 long years. But yeah, could I imagine it? It sounds like the worst nightmare ever, and I know exactly what it's like because I've seen this guy go through it.
Yeah. It changes a person. I've watched it happen with our family members recently. Some of that shit's going on with some people that are close to us where something happened and now there's a divorce. They've had a kid who's about 8 years old, and the dad's got to try and figure out a way to deal with the fact that he's not going to be there with his son anymore. Or at least not every day, and it's changed him. It's something that's
I couldn't do it. I honestly, Melissa would have to do something incredibly heinous for me to walk out of this family because of the possibility that she could be one of these people that keeps me away from my kids, and nothing is worth it.
Yeah. This funny story took a dark turn, but I think it's worth talking about because.
Quick, somebody make a fart joke.
wait. I got it. Penis.
Don't do it. Oh, there we go.
Wait.
Issue 3. Attempting to do work for his first client, securing a paperclip warehouse, we find that Taskmaster actually set up Scott in order to keep him busy while his daughter Cassie is kidnapped. Who would hire Taskmaster to do this? A man by the name of Augustine Cross, daughter of Darren Cross, an enemy that Scott fell long ago. Augustine's plot? Abduct a doctor by the name of Erica Sondheim, forcing her to bring back his father. A man Dr. Sondheim dealt with before, as he had forced her to continually replace his heart with the working heart of homeless men. That's weird, but okay. How this involves Cassie, we do not know yet. We do know that what led to Darren and Scott's final encounter was when Cassie was undergoing surgery performed by Dr. Sondheim as well. We have yet to find out how this all ties together. In issue 4, Scott must make his way to rescue his daughter Cassie. But unfortunately, Cross Industries have their building anti-AntMan. I made that up myself. Anti-AntMan.
You kidding me?
Enter a new employee. Grizzly finds a friend from the local Supervillains Anonymous by the name of Machinesmith, a former villain who eats batteries and can easily manipulate electronics and machinery. Scott makes him a member of the team, and they make their way to save Cassie. The only problem is, after reaching the room that she was in, Augustine has succeeded in his venture to bring his father back. You see, Augustine knew that whatever heart he used, it most likely would fail. But Cassie's history of having a physiology that had been exposed to PIM particles made her the perfect candidate. Forcing Dr. Sondheim to make the transplant, Darren Cross lives. All right. Now, I just throwing this out here before I go past it, okay? Taskmaster found his job on Hinge, the app Hinge, which apparently is just an app out there to get henchmen to do jobs. That's funny.
If you're a superhero or a cop, why would you not just download this and follow the source?
I hear you.
I thought Darren Cross was Yellow Jacket.
Let's find out.
He's Pink Jacket now.
He's Pinkberry.
Pinkberry. I love how he says that, and then, we do the fourth wall breaking where he's like, again, concussion. I think you're right. He is.
Is.
Why does he look like the LGBTQ Hulk?
Huh.
Can anyone answer that for me?
Oh, it's funny.
No. I don't think we want to answer that for you.
I
think we're just going to shy away from that.
I want to know why Darren Cross is a transgendered Hulk. Because he's pink, audience, get it? I'm making fun of the fact that he's pink and calling him, other sexual. Get it?
So I don't know why he's pink. Let's just get back to that, I guess. I have no idea. I'm on his
Alexa,
wiki site here.
Why is Darren Cross pink?
She has no clue.
No.
She would have no clue. So, okay. Yeah, I don't know why he's pink, but let's go ahead. We'll get it to issue 5, then we can talk all about what happens here. The big, crazy inconsistency of the story, which I may have to pull up the page just to figure out what the good doctor said happened. But
all right. Since realizing that he was suffering from a rare heart condition, Darren Cross underwent a radical surgery procedure. Dr. Erica Sondheim implanted an experimental but sophisticated nuclear organic pacemaker in order to prolong Cross's life. However, Cross implant increased the size of his entire circulatory system, and as a result, it mutated his body, making him LGBTQ. With the heavy toll...
I think that's right.
Now that he's woke, with the heavy toll...
Please, allow the conservative Christian of the group to make you refrain from making these jokes.
With the heavy toll brought on by the implant in his wokeness, Cross had to undergo a continuous lapse in the heart transplants, and since an ordinary human heart could not sustain his augmented body, Dr. Sondheim would have to alter each donor's physiology. Sondheim was trailed by Scott Lang, a man who had stolen Hank Pym's AntMan suit in order to save Sondheim, who was the only person who could perform life-saving surgery on his daughter Cassie. Cross battled Ant-Man and died from the resulting stress caused to his heart. The company was later taken over by Darren's son Augustine and his brother William.
Okay. All right.
Is it William?
No.
Is it actually Wilhelm?
No, it's William.
Okay, so we now understand why he is mutated in pink. That's good.
In pink.
It only took a half an hour.
In the final issue, we get a battle between Ant-Man and Darren Cross while Cassie's life hangs in the balance. Just as Darren appears to have the upper hand, he begins to shrink, as at the time he does not have control over the PIM particles coursing through his body. Scott allows him to escape, focusing on his daughter. Dr. Sondheim explains her body is rejecting the new... No, man. You know who. Dr. Sondheim.
Sondheim.
Her body is rejecting the new heart she was able to procure. See, this is what we need to look at real quick. So she is an unfortunate victim of where they take her heart out and put it in this guy. Now, where did she get the other heart? I don't know if that's explained, so I'm going to fast forward real quick just to that issue.
It's a comic book. It doesn't need to be explained.
I'm sorry, but a heart procedure is kind of a big deal.
Because up to this point, this was very realistic.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Shrinking men. Realistic.
Yes. Look, I'm fine with the amount of energy it takes to shrink and enlarge some things, and and what happens to that energy and all of that. I'm fine with all of those things. I'm fine with a guy running around in a bear suit. I'm fine with living robots. What I'm not fine with is performing open heart surgery, and this woman is now this girl is now existing for several minutes with no heart.
I feel you need to pick your battles better.
Nope.
Okay.
Here we go. Okay. Those bastards, they took her heart, Scott. Her heart? But I was able to perform another procedure, another transplant for her. I thought maybe we'd get lucky, but heart compatibility, it's a tricky thing. I needed prep time, testing, drug treatments beforehand. I didn't have any of that here. So,
my
okay.
extra one.
Yeah, first off, they force her at gunpoint, and they say, okay, look, you're going to make this transplant. We're going to abduct Cassie. I really don't think... The only thing that I can think of is they took. Well, no, that I don't even think his heart was good. Darren Cross's heart wasn't good because he was in suspended animation and dead because his heart gave out. So I don't know if she just had an extra heart laying around or if they okay, we got to have a backup just in case this one doesn't work, which I could maybe give that some credence considering they knew that her heart was going to be too small to begin with to go into this large man. They're kind of banking all their banking everything that they had on the PIM particles enlarging the heart. But I don't know. That's the only thing. That's the only explanation I can give. But either way, Cassie's body's rejecting the new heart that was put in there. So in order to save things, Scott shrinks down and enters Cassie's bloodstream, fighting off her own body's defense mechanisms, allowing the transplant to take hold. After saving her, Scott realizes that the life that he leads will always endanger his daughter, and soon makes the difficult decision he should return to New York to allow her to try to lead a normal life. All right, so that's where me and you can pick up our discussion there, Mark, where we kind of table the previous conversation.
I think if the son could have figured out another way to bring back his dad, he would have without having to engage with AntMan. Because I think at this stage, I'm getting the sense that a lot of the villains have been beaten so many times in the last 100 years in the Marvel universe. The way that a lot of the villains are written are, is like, look, we're trying to make money without engaging the superheroes because we always lose and it's not really worth it. So I get the idea that if he could have brought his dad back without Cassie or without dealing with AntMan, he would have. And as far as AntMan using the suit, I mean, again, just because you're out there stopping bank robberies and terrorists doesn't necessarily mean you got enough money to, for a mortgage and groceries. And I think it's a realistic portrayal of a superhero in 2018. I don't think Stan Lee and Jack Kirby really had to deal with these things because people were looking for some escapism, and I think they rode that for all that it's worth. And now I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are people who go to comics for escapism still, but I think there's an element out there that try to find some relatability in their comic books. And like I said, this is a very relatable situation.
Look at we've mentioned it before. I mean, it's been on here before. Matt Fraction's Hawkeye, super relatable because he's just a dude that is trying to make his life work.
Yeah,
he's protecting his his apartment building from the bro squad.
There is very little action that takes part in that book, and it's still so good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
And one of the best ones is from the viewpoint of Lucky the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Pizza Dog.
Dog.
Which is like probably my favorite character out of that whole book. I mean, I love everybody and how they portray. Other superheroes show up or whatever, but it doesn't really show any quote unquote superhero action. There's no life threatening craziness going on. If there was, it shows right after it. And then when was it Jessica Drew, Black Widow, and Bobby Morris, Mockingbird? Yeah, Spider-Woman, Black Widow, and Mockingbird all show up. He goes, "Oh crap! It's my ex-wife, my ex-girlfriend, and my current girlfriend." It's not, here come my teammates. Here come the Avengers. It's real life. Here comes my ex, my two exes, and my current.
Yep.
And why are they all hanging out together? This isn't good. and it's just like something out of a movie or a TV show, a comedy of oh crap, I'm caught in the middle of it. And so I really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed this because there are your superhero moments in it, supervillain versus superhero, but it's still very relatable.
Mm-hmm. There's a part in page 3, and I'm sorry, Mark, but I'm going to give Peggy some credit here.
Nope.
Okay, Peggy's getting some credit.
No,
but there's a part in issue 3 where Scott says, I just really don't think let's try that again. I just really don't think one of us being away from Cassie is the way to go. She needs us both right now. And it's not like I'm not meeting you in the middle here, right? You said it yourself. There's no costume crazy stuff here in Miami. And then she chimes in and she says, except the one you brought with you.
All right,
exactly.
I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to paraphrase The Hobbit here in saying that it takes an awful lot of courage to leave your front door. There's any number of things trying to kill you. Okay, you, Jesse Starcher, could, on your way to work, could be hit by an asteroid, or just get into a fender bender. Either way, you could spill hot coffee on your nuts. Life is dangerous.
Sit on your nuts.
You could sit on your nuts. Who hasn't sat on the nuts? A grizzly bear could wander into your office and maul everybody. You don't know, Jesse. You think you're living a safe life. You think you've got everything all laid out and protected, and you think, okay, if I just do these things, nothing will bother me. And then, bammo, attacked by bats. Okay, you don't know. Is what I'm trying. Is what I'm trying to say.
Fair point, Mark Radulich. But my question to that is, where are you working now, Jesse? That bears and bats are going to attack you at any moment.
A bear could come out of the atmosphere and land in his lap.
What?
You don't know.
I don't need that. I don't need that.
When did bears start flying?
Jesse, honestly. Anywhere you go, there's crime. Everywhere you go, there's crime. And in a world where some of that crime is done by people wearing fancy suits, everywhere you go, there's going to be crime with fancy suits. She's being ridiculous.
I mean, look at Runaways. They're on the left coast. I hate it when people say that. Nothing ever really happens out on the West Coast. I mean, they did a whole Avengers storyline with it, and nothing came of it. Really, they had to do time travel to make it up. But there's costume crime everywhere in this world. I'm with Mark on this. I don't give her any leeway whatsoever.
Okay, all right. Well, there's a lot of conflict here with the fact that he's a superhero who has kids, and there's probably been a few conversations we've had on this podcast about that whole dynamic, or the people that talking about Spider-Man, those people, should he have a secret identity? Should he not? He puts those people in danger because he is known as Peter Parker. For as funny as this book is, I want to talk about, Mark, were you entertained? Was this a pretty funny book?
Ant-Man Second Chance, man, is a very funny book. First of all, I thought it was kind of meta. Obviously there's a lot of breaking the fourth wall. It wasn't quite Deadpool, but he's acknowledging that he's narrating the story. And hello? And are you making balloon animals? But there's a lightness to the book. I think the book manages to balance the realities of the divorced dad trying to make good with it also being a superhero book, with it also being funny. I think it had a lot of balls in the air and it juggled them pretty well.
Yeah. Oh, I loved it. Like I said, Scott Lang is my favorite Ant-Man, and seeing him go through the struggles, everyday struggles, and being a superhero, having an empty wallet, unfortunately for him, is not entertaining, but it's relatable. Which makes it entertaining. I don't want to call anybody, whether it be a comic book hero or even somebody in a movie, I don't want to say their struggles are entertaining, but it made it relatable.
One of the things that they said on his wiki was that most of his work, Nick Spencer, most of his work is like doing crime noir writing. So
this was different.
Yeah, I was going to say, this kind of feels removed from that.
No, I could see that with this, because this was, this was sort of taking the hard-boiled detective story and slapping a bit of superhero on top of it.
Okay, all right.
I definitely saw that.
Okay. Well, that and the Miami Vice cover with Grizzly. And
Dude, that was perfect.
That was incredible.
God, I want to hang that on my wall.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I really enjoyed his writing on this book. Nick Spencer is probably another person that I'm going to seek out a little bit more work from them. I am really glad that gave him the reins to Spider-Man, because I would actually like to see what he does with Spider-Man. There's probably like one or two issues, because that was updated in March, and I think he took over probably within the last month or so, probably after Threat Level Red or Going Down Swinging or whichever those ones were done. And Dan Slott made his exit, and in come Nick Spencer. So I really enjoyed this. I had a good time. It seems like both Ant-Man books that we've done on here, Ronnie Adams, have actually been really good books. In the hands of a good writer, this character and all his abilities can be used to keep the story entertaining, and I like bits and pieces of that as we've gone through the story. So, all right, well let's close it on up. I'm really glad we had the chance to talk about Ant-Man: Second Chance Man. Came out in 2015 for Marvel Comics. Let's get into plugs. Ronnie Adams, sir.
I have a show called the Screaming Boy Podcast. It's really good. It's a pop culture extravaganza. We are on a unwanted hiatus right now because of technical difficulties. We have been plagued with those in the past, so we're trying to get past that right now. But you can go on, and recent episodes as far back, not even that far back. It was like May, I think. We did a show on the closing of Toys R Us, which actually had its final days as of Friday the 29th. Of June, which is completely sad. They're another part of my childhood gone, which sounds a lot more depressing than I meant it to be. But you can find that exclusively here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network, as well as Hey Movie Pass. What's up with you? We did a show called What Happened to Movie Pass, where we talked about all the changes that were happening with Movie Pass. If you're not familiar with Movie Pass, it is an application that goes onto your cellular device that they also send you a MasterCard with your name on it. You choose the movie that you wish to see, and they place money on the card for you to buy your ticket. It is only $9.99 a month, and you're allowed to see one movie a day for the entire month. So you see 30 to 31 movies.
This is terms of service as of yesterday, and just to let everybody know that they could change on a whim. Go ahead.
Some people are a little more distraught about it than others, Jesse. And then you have some people that belong to a Movie Pass fan club on Facebook, yes, who get out their tinfoil hats and wonder if the world is against them, or at least Movie Pass. We did a show on that. It was actually a lot of fun as well. Mark Radulich and Jesse Starcher have appeared on both of those shows. Jesse appears on 99.9% of the Scream Boy podcast because he is a co-host over there, and Mark is just awesome, so he comes on those shows as well. If you like what you hear here, go on to those shows. Yeah, it is. Please like what you hear on this show. Then go on over there and check out the Scream Boy podcast. We also have a ton of other shows that are on this network that are also on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, and iHeartRadio under the name Scream Boy Podcast. You can find us on Facebook, Scream Boy Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Scream Boy PR. You can find us on Instagram, Scream Boy Podcast, where I have posted a lot of pictures from Comic-Cons I've been to. I'm able to, as of recently, go to Comic-Cons, and I've got another big one coming up that's a Raleigh SuperCon, where I'm super stoked to stand in line for however long and get Ralph Macchio's autograph.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of different people going to be there. You're going to have William Shatner, Michael Dorn, Mick Foley from wrestling fame. Michael Coulter, he's going to be there. Dave Bautista. There's going to be a lot of big names there, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Please go on, give us a like, hit subscribe. We'll have new content out before you know it. Please love us.
When this airs on the Radulich Broadcasting Network, it will be July 9th. Tomorrow will be Damn You, Hollywood, Ant-Man, and the Wasp. And we'll follow that up with the Metal Hammer of Doom's review of Skindred, Big Tings. Big Tings, Jesse Starcher.
Big Tings.
Are you going to bring your Big Ting to the podcast and share your Big Ting with the world?
Never leave home without it.
Everyone's got big tings. That's my jam. Anyway, the previous week, you can hear Luke Cage, Sins of the Father, Ronnie Adams, and Robert Winfrey on TV Party Tonight. Luke Cage, Hail to the Chief, Season 2. And, of course, we're going to celebrate Independence Day, the 4th of July, with the most American Kid Rock. Sweet Southern Sugar.
Listen, you have to. I'm going to interrupt Mark's plugs to plug something for him. You absolutely have to go on listen to the Metal Hammer of Doom Extra. Their commentary on the music video "Ba Wata Ba." Because the things, I didn't even have to watch the video. The things they explained that were going on in this video were just astonishing. This video was pure late 90s, early 2000s. It was sponsored by Mountain Dew and
Motocross,
Affliction T-shirts, and Tap Out. Because all the bros showed up for this.
Oh, man.
And it was, and wonderful times were had by all.
Lovely ladies in that video. We get to American Badass. American Badass is dropping tomorrow. Oh, boy.
Yeah, if you like Ba with the Ba, wait till you hear what we say about American Badass.
Yes, sir.
Which was sponsored by Monster Energy Drink.
WWE.
WWE.
So, yeah, check out all of our Metal Hammer of Dooms. Next week, July 16th, we will be synergizing the Incredible Hulk's Planet Savage with Damn You Hollywood review of Skyscraper, which essentially is Die Hard on one leg featuring The Rock. And the Metal Hammer of Doom will follow that up with The Lords of Black, Icons of the New Day. Icons of the New Age? Icons of the New Days. Now, somewhere in there, Jesse Starcher is going to do Spider-Man Threat Level Red, and then we'll do a TV party tonight for Voltron Season 5 and 6. There'll be no Metal Hammer of Doom that week because I will be, against my will, at Dave Matthews. And then a special Thursday airing of TV Party Tonight with myself and Sean Comer, where we review Glow Season 2. And that's all the news that's fit to print for the month of July so far.
I'll tell you right now, Glow Season 2 is a really good season. I didn't think that I'd be as impressed as I was, so I'll look forward to hearing you guys talk about it. And ladies and gentlemen, when you say, hey, where can I find that Radulich in Broadcasting Network podcast plethora that they have, I would tell you to go over to the Radulich and Broadcasting Network Facebook page, give that a like, and you can stay up on top of all the great podcasts that we have to offer. Plenty of stuff out there, lots of content that has dropped. I do this show right here, Source Material. You'll see that a lot of content that's come before this. It definitely is. There may have been a story you've read in the past that you want to hear a couple jamokes talk about, and ladies maybe sometimes. So, jamokes. Check it out. We talk MMA, we talk wrestling, we talk TV shows, we talk movies. It's all right here on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. I'm ready to go and get out of here, get these kids to bed, tell Caleb to turn off the Fortnite, stop yelling at your friends, give me the mic, son. And we're going to call it a night. So for Ronnie Adams sitting over there trying not to be square, Mark Radulich sitting over yonder.
Are you implying that I am square?
Ronnie Adams
not to.
Put a dehumidifier and a humidifier in the same room just to see him fight it out.
I am not Stephen Wright. I have, I'm not a monotone, terrible comedian.
Stephen Wright is still alive, contrary to what these guys have tried to say.
Ronnie Adams wants to know why the alphabet is in that order.
Actually, that is a legit question.
That is not a good question to ask. Not at the end of the show.
Says you.
Ask Alexa, please.
No, that's not my shtick.
Alexa,
ask Alexa.
Why is the alphabet in that order?
I'm not sure.
See? Stephen Wright asked all the good questions and may not have answers. So there's Mark Radulich.
Mediocre comedian.
Mediocre. Okay. All right. Definitely got miles on our ass. So Mark Radulich, he's sitting over there. He's ready to go to bed. Let's call this a night. Source Material is on its way, waving by. Have a good one. Laters.
Laters.
All right, I'm going to stop being a dick.
That lasted about 2 minutes.
No, Tony Stark never struck a woman.
With his dick.
Oh.
Listen, we're trying to have a serious podcast here.
A man, Dr. Sondheim, oh, fuck me. Sondheim, forcing Dr. Sondheim, yes, Caleb, I'm on a podcast, sir. Huh? How many?
Was trailed by Sondheim? Was Yvonne? Was
That
trailed...
fucking bit will never die.
Why does he look like the LGBTQ Hulk? It's raining bass, roar, hallelujah.
Roar.
Hit it, Darren.
Oh my God, no! Shut up!
You went left and then you said east.
I know! I got it mixed up! I don't know directions.
Some people go both ways.
Hit it, Darren.
What happens then? Does he come out with like glow sticks and glitter? That's how he fights. He fights AntMan with glow sticks and dance moves.
20 minutes later.
To some people. So,
What are you laughing at? What are you laughing about?
I agree, Ronnie.
Also, props to you, Mark, for saying balls and not giggling.
I do want to say that aside from the humor, I enjoyed the science too.
You mean the girl living without a heart?
You mean a man can't shrink to the size of an ant or grow to the size of a building? Astounding!
A man can become a building.
I'm starting a new spreadsheet of shit I should have never said. just
And number
was
one on
one
that
thing I
is,
should
hey,
never-
Mark, I can do a podcast.
All right. When you're hearing this, you're listening.
Good night, folks.
This is New York firefighter Raphael Porriette, introducing Firehouse Subs' new $4.99 choice subs. Choose from a medium smoked turkey, honey ham, or roast beef. And remember, a part of every sub you buy helps provide life-saving equipment for first responders. Medium $4.99 choice subs. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives. Limited time only, plus tax, no substitutions. Participating locations. Firehouse Subs will donate a minimum of $1 million in 2018 to Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation by donating 0.13% of every purchase.